Peace and welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, we got a lot to talk about. First, let's talk about this latest New York Times poll that says that President Biden is losing black voters in swing states now. I'll share with you some of the latest data in that particular poll, and more importantly, what are the implications? Also, let's talk about how a new Louisiana governor-elect won't fix the water problems there until abortion seekers are prosecuted. You're talking about the intersection of reproductive rights and environmental justice. Wow, and how it impacts black women. We're going to certainly talk about that. And we're going to talk about the exploitation of the booty paradox in describing black women and their backsides and how it has created a cultural firestorm. Later on, it is official, folks. Beyonce has her own reporter for USA Today. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. So stay with us. It's all coming up on today's edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. All right, folks, welcome to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Yes, folks, we are live today. It is Wednesday, November the 15th, and we are live today. And I know I missed you guys yesterday. You know, I had to do something with my little princess, my little baby girl. She wasn't feeling well, so I had to do what women often are called to do, which is, just had to tend to the children. I had to play Dr. Daddy yesterday. So, but she's feeling better. She's feeling much better and better spirits and everything. So, sometimes you got to do that. Sometimes you got to do that. But I'm very excited and very happy to be back here joining you today, especially with my sister from another mother, my sister Suzette Speaks, who serves as the host of the Suzette Speaks show on YouTube, as well as she is a licensed attorney in the state of Florida, and she is joining us today as normal, as usual, on Wednesdays. Y'all can check her out, and make sure y'all go follow her on all social media platforms, as well as taking a look at her show. But we got a lot to talk about. Let me bring my sister Suzette in. Let's bring Suzette in. Yeah, Suzette. Yeah.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Good to be here. Miss y'all too. Hey.
Right. Suzette, you, of course, I gotta throw this back in there. Attorney, host, political strategist. There we go, folks.
I'm good, don't it? Just kidding. Shout out to everybody watching from around the world. Always a pleasure. Thank you, Farajii.
Absolutely. All right, let's first talk a little bit about this first story here. As we talk about President Biden, a new New York Times Siena poll has shown that President Biden is once again in a very peculiar or precarious position where he is now, that narrative, Suzette, of him losing black voters is becoming more and more pronounced. This is based on a new poll that they put out. Take a look at this, folks. Here's the latest from New York Times. It says that President Biden is trailing Donald J. Trump in 5 of the 6 most important battleground states 1 year before the 2024 election, suffering from enormous doubts about his age and deep dissatisfaction over his handling of the economy and a host of other issues. Now, this is a new poll by the New York Times and Siena College have found. The results show Mr. Biden losing to Mr. Trump, his likeliest Republican rival, by margins of 4 to 10 percentage points among registered voters in Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, and Pennsylvania. Mr. Biden is ahead only in Wisconsin by 2 percentage points, the poll found. 6 swing states, 5 to 6 swing states, and the president needs every single vote, even though there's some people who might say, Suzette, that Trump got all of this baggage that he's still bringing in. But this is the odd point about this. Take a look at this, and I want to get your take on this, Suzette. Black voters, long a bulwark for Democrats and for Mr. Biden, are now registering 22% in support in these states for Mr. Trump. a level unseen in presidential politics for a Republican in modern times. What?
I know. It's kind of crazy.
All right, first and foremost, I know some people always say, well, these are just polls. As a person that's working in these spaces, that you understand the dynamics of this. How much weight do you put on a poll like this from New York Times Siena College?
Well, first of all, it's very early. As we know, we're just under a year out from this election, but I was trying to do some comparison from past years where presidents were incumbent presidents, people who were currently in the office, who were running for a re-election. Where were they at this time in their election campaign? So I went back to, and there's a current article from The Atlantic, and in it, it does a review of where President Barack Obama was 12 years ago when he was running for his second term. And it happens that he was polling about the same margins as President Biden is currently polling at around the same time. So he was looking at less than 40% approval ratings, as we're seeing the majority of Americans across the board seem very uncertain right now. I think, obviously, the economy being the number one issue for the average American. We're looking at gas prices. We're looking at food prices, even though inflation is in reverse. The normal day-to-day shopping, though, is still quite high compared to pre-pandemic levels. So when I'm kind of gauging these polls, again, looking at where Obama was, he was losing to Mitt Romney back in 2011, and he ended up winning his election, as we know. So again, it's very early, and I know that there are a lot of reasons why people feel very uncertain, and I think that is being reflected in these poll numbers, especially for Black folks.
It is being reflected. And we got to take a quick pause, our first pause for the day. But Suzette, I need you to help me to understand this 22%, because I think people are going to hang on to this number now until election day. And they're going to use it for various narratives. Trump and his team and the GOP are going to use it for their purposes. Democrats going to use it for their purposes. But 22%. I mean, I heard the number of 6 to 10% in terms of the election from the last election with Trump and Biden, but 22%. This is a much larger number. So I want to get your take on that. Crew, join me in the conversation. Y'all know how we do. We got Suzette on here, so we know you're going to we're going to have some heat and some fire today. Make sure y'all post your comments in the chat as we are streaming live on Roland Martin's YouTube page. 50-year-old Roland Martin YouTube page.
Hey, happy birthday! Yes.
So make sure, there we go. So make sure y'all post your comments in the chat. Let's talk a little bit about this. And I'm just getting started. We got a whole lot more to talk about. So stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. I got my sister Suzette Speaks checking in with me as she does every Wednesday. And today we're kicking off the discussions talking about a New York Times Siena College poll, which shows that President Biden is really struggling. And as of right now, a little bit less than a year away from the national election, he is losing black voters in 5 to 6 swing states that are considered battleground states that the president, both the Democrats and Republicans have won in the past. But these are some of the states that the president right now is at risk of losing. They're talking about states, voters in Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, and Pennsylvania. He's only ahead in Wisconsin by 2 percentage points, according to his New York Times poll. And black voters are now registering 22% support in these same states for former President Donald Trump. I need you to help me to wrap my mind around that part right there, Suzette. 22%?
Yeah, it's shocking to me, actually, because I know that we've talked about a little bit of the misinformation that has been spreading rather quickly on social media, from Instagram to X to Facebook. You'll see all these quotes that tell you that Donald Trump did all these supposed things for Black people. And when we look at the fact checking, that is not true. And I do think sometimes when we are in a situation the way Black folks are hit hard when it comes to the economy, we are looking for alternatives, although we have to really look long term as to what an actual vote for that person would lead to. It sounds great. It sounds like, again, anti-establishment and that he is the solution to your problems. But I think if you're seeing 22%, I think it has much more to do with the conditions on the ground, especially the economy. I think it was James Carville, a political analyst from back in 1992, that said it's the economy. Mm-hmm. It's still the economy. I think more than anything, we are uncertain, especially depending on your socioeconomic levels in this country, whether you are working class, middle class, working middle class. We're not seeing the stability that we once saw, and people are feeling like the American dream is not attainable and is not what it once was. So I think that's what we're seeing. But the fact that they're saying that they will vote for Trump, I'm not sure that means an actual vote for Trump. I think the trends are more likely that Black people will stay home if they don't feel like their needs are being addressed within either candidate. Yeah. But for right now, this is what folks are saying. But I do think it's trying to demonstrate some kind of anti-establishment. What can I say? I'm tired of the status quo. No one is speaking to my needs. And I do think Democrats have to do a better job at addressing the needs specifically of Black folks and what they've done that has impacted the lives of Black people.
Absolutely. Let's take some comments from the crew here, because folks are checking in. Big shout out to our online culture crew. Pastor Damon Bassett, I see him. Anastasia Paget, Corinna, good to see you once again. Pauline, Tiana, the ABX girl, now they are checking in. My sister Lana, there we go. Karen Connor, my sister here in the great city of Los Angeles. Thank you so much. Conscious Thought, I see you. All right, let me start this one off right here, Suzette, with Lana, because she said something that I think a lot of people would agree with. She was making a point that she doesn't believe in polls. She said, we keep hearing the same poll numbers every damn week. I'm convinced the media wants the great pumpkin back in office.
Listen,
Do
I don't
you
know if they're
think that's
trying
the
to
case,
scare
though?
us. I mean,
Yeah, you
polls,
think it's like a fear tactics going on? What you think?
it can be. I mean, I'm not a big conspiracy theorist, but I know that there are folks that benefit from the possibility of Donald Trump getting back into office, staying either through these so-called numbers that, hey, look at the trend. It's cool to be anti-Biden and let's go for Trump, everybody. Or, I think there's so much interference that happens when it comes to, again, our online spaces, whether it be from foreign countries, right? Foreign, what some would term adversaries getting involved with what we see in our algorithms and what is pushed in terms of false narratives. People can get caught up in what is an untrue, state of mind in terms of what each politician stands for and will likely do for or against their interests once in office. So I think
Yeah,
anyone who sees this, oftentimes you're going to get this, I don't know, up and down sense of whether or not this is true for all Black people or for the majority of Black people in these swing states. But I will say on the ground, there are people that are disheartened for sure about why it seems as if their dollar is not going as far as it once did, why it seems like they're getting kind of like pressured when it comes to their economic advancement. And I think this is just a real issue that has to be hammered home. Obviously, the pandemic had its effect on our economy for sure. And even though we are in a recovery and people are seeing inflation go down on various items, when it comes to like gas prices, when it comes to food prices, I don't think, people have really understood what it could have been had there not been interventions like that of the, the stimulus program, which Biden implemented, et cetera. And it was really difficult for, I think, what the president is capable of and what he cannot do without the help of Congress. I think that's something
right.
that is really, it is not as clear as it needs to be. And we kind of have to have a better messaging around that because President Biden is doing what he can, like I said, with
I was just about to say that, Suzette.
of all the what he can get through executive order and through his departments, Department of Labor, Department of Education, what he can push through, he has done so. But of course, he has to have a willing Congress to pass
That's what I was going to say.
legislation. So it's not always just on him, but of course,
Right,
the
right.
buck stops with him when it comes to these polls and what the American people think he is responsible for.
And you know what? I mean, we got to take another quick pause, but that's exactly what I was going to say. If folks in this country right now, if we're going back and forth, say, oh man, the economy is messed up, or if this is messed up, like, please understand, folks, that the president has certain powers, but they are limited. He needs authorization from Congress. And let's not forget, Suzette, that the American government is highly influenced by multinational corporations, Wall Street, businesses, big oil, all of these industries that have played a huge part in greasing the pockets of folks, right? To make sure that they get their interests across. So it's not just one man overseeing all of these different things. There are a lot of pieces to this machine called democracy, and certainly a lot of pieces to this machine called capitalism that's at play here. That if you're walking around as a grown ass man or grown ass woman and saying, well, why ain't the president stopping crime in my neighborhood? Like there's no authoritarian rule, and whether you're talking about on the federal level or on the local level, you know what I mean? That there are checks and balances, and then all of these other different interests at play, and it's not just on the president. So I just want to. I'm glad that you pointed that out because I was going to clear that up as well. Like if we're still talking about, well, why is the economy like that? You got to ask the question, well, why is the market like that? And then more importantly, what are the supply and demands if we're talking about business? Why is education like that? Well, look at what's going on why are states allowing certain educational things to happen that the government, based upon our constitution, won't interfere in. The federal government won't interfere with state government on certain things.
I'm glad
So
you
you
mentioned
got
that.
it. You
That's also when it
got to
comes to
understand all
winning.
the dynamics here.
states have to accept the federal money. States have to apply for federal programs. So
Exactly.
even when there's more money available, for example, we saw the large expansion of Medicaid and Medicare during the pandemic that just came to a close and just expired. You have governors that have been refusing it in some of the most impoverished states in the union. And those same people are suffering and therefore looking for alternatives right now at the ballot box. But it also, it depends on who is in charge of the dollars. It can be federal dollars, it can be state dollars, and it can be a governor who rejects the the federal dollars for his state or her state.
Absolutely.
So that often
Absolutely.
happens too. So we have to look at kind of all the moving pieces. I know
Yeah.
he, again, is the face of this government. So people are going to say, what did Biden do? But he's done a heck of a lot. When you look at all the legislation he's had passed in his very short time, in this 3 now going on 4 years, there has not been a more masterful, person at the helm. The way Biden's experience, even though sometimes it's being used against him, he knows how to get stuff passed in a bipartisan way. Mind you, the Congress most of the time has been held by Republicans during his term, and he still was able to do things like the infrastructure bill and several other gun reform as much as we can get it, because we cannot get it through the entire Congress, right? It has to be passed by the House of Representatives and the Senate. But even with that against him, those odds against him, he has passed some remarkable legislation for a divided government. So we got to keep that in mind as well.
Absolutely. Real quick, Pastor Damon said some of these issues are going to happen no matter what party is in the Oval Office. Absolutely. Look, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's switch gears just a little bit. Let's talk about what's happening in the state of Louisiana, how the new governor-elect is taking some parts of the fight around abortion, the conversation around abortion, to the whole new level, where he's looking at possibly restricting funds to fix infrastructure problems in New Orleans as a result of his disdain for abortion. Talk about having somebody in there who just don't get it. So we're going to talk a little bit about the implications of that, especially on women, reproductive rights, and environmental justice. So that conversation is up next here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
I love y'all. All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture. Weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm joined by my sister, Suzette Speaks, host of the Suzette Speaks Show and an attorney out of the state of Florida. Suzette, this is a story that I have never heard like something like this actually happened. And this is down in the state of Louisiana, how the new governor-elect, Mr. Jeff Landry, has said that he's not looking to fix the infrastructure, the water pipes and the water supply and the water infrastructure in the city of New Orleans until abortion seekers are prosecuted. This is some wild stuff. I've never heard of it. Let me share this this is from Essence, folks. And this is the latest from what's going on down there. In September, the city of New Orleans had some surrounding parishes in South Louisiana began to prepare for at least 3 months of saltwater intrusion in the local water supply. President Joe Biden then declared the crisis a federal emergency and authorized funding for FEMA and other state agencies to mitigate the burgeoning crisis. Boom, that's happening. So that kicked off in September. Now, here we are now in November. Take a look at this. While months of extreme record heat, high heat, and lack of rainfall in and around the Crescent City are responsible for the crisis, some are pointing at current Louisiana Attorney General and Louisiana Governor-elect Jeff Landry as partially responsible for the city's ability to address the now circumvented crisis, as well as the decayed state of the city's entire water infrastructure. Landry personally solicited the Louisiana State Bond Commission last year to withhold millions in funding from the New Orleans Sewage and Water Board due to the city government's refusal to arrest and prosecute women in the wake of Louisiana's total ban on abortion. The New Orleans Sewage and Water Board remains in desperate need of funding to tackle necessary repairs to its 4 water intake structures, one of which that has been inoperable for 34 years.
That's absolutely crazy. That's absolutely crazy.
So he's holding money back until the Sewage and Water Board decides to, he's holding money back to basically as a punishment. So that way he can prosecute women who want to get abortion. So how does that work, Suzanne?
So, yeah, this is similar to what we've been seeing in the actual United States Congress. So there is someone that has had a similar effect on their constituency and, in fact, the United States as a whole. And that is Senator Tommy Tuberville from Alabama. He has also used his stance against what he's calling taxpayer-funded abortion in the military to stop the Congress from appointing all levels of military leadership that affects the United States Navy, the commandant, the chiefs of staffs from all the different branches. Tommy Tuberville, one senator in the Congress right now, has stopped these appointments from happening. So why did he do it? And I'll bring it right back to what we're talking about in New Orleans. From the appointment of Lloyd Austin as Secretary of our military, the first Black man to hold that position, Lloyd Austin made a policy decision to allow any personnel in the United States military to be able to take time off, to be able to travel, and to cover as as a health related procedure, the seeking of termination of pregnancy. In his statement, Tommy Tuberville has, since December of 2022, has stopped the United States, from having any new appointments to our military leadership structures because he says he's taking a stance against abortion. Now, what is happening right now in the Congress is that even his fellow Republicans cannot stand this type of obstinate behavior where one person's personal belief is now being held or is holding the rest of the government, basically the military establishment, hostage based on what he believes is some righteous cause. So as we're looking at what is now happening in New Orleans, he's taking a page out of Senator Tommy Tuberville's book to now state that water, one of the essential components of life in one of the most historical places and cities in our country, now is no longer a right because he wants to make a statement about abortion rights. When we come back, I know we have to take a break. If we can bring up a map of New Orleans just so we understand what is happening. So the Mississippi River is one of the main waterways that passes through New Orleans and that empties out into the Gulf of Mexico. So what is basically happening is we know that, or many of us know that, Louisiana is below sea level, and without the proper rainfall, the Mississippi water flow is actually much less than it has ever been. The last time it was this low was in 1988, but it has never been this low for this amount of time. So what happens when the Mississippi is not putting pressure on the Gulf to push the water out? What will happen is that salt water will encroach inland. And if you've been to New Orleans, one of my favorite cities, you know that back in the olden days, they dug all these canals, right? That's how people got by.
Right.
So you have a system of canals that is now expanding, not because human beings are doing anything now. It's just that nature is coming back for itself. And with all these openings to the Gulf, and without the Mississippi putting pressure to push the water back out, the salt water is coming into people's fresh water. And I'm talking about thousands, tens of thousands of people will be affected in various parishes. And now we're looking at a governor and attorney general who are saying that because of one stance they're about to take on abortion, totally unrelated to what people's safety in terms of their drinking water will be, it's about to wreck the system, if you will, when it comes to their public obligation to make sure that their constituents and their residents have access to clean, fresh, non-salty drinking water. So we can talk about it. I know we have to take a quick break, but that's where it pretty much boils down to. The Army Corps of Engineers started to build what they call a SIL about 2 months ago to try to stop this, but this can't be stopped. It can be slowed down. But without the Mississippi, with the lowering of the levels of waters in the Mississippi, the salt water is going to come and overtake what would be the freshwater outflow. So this is a huge problem that this governor is going to face. And
the crazy part about it is, I'm sorry, Suzette. The crazy part about this is that he was just elected. He hasn't even gotten to the office. He hasn't even started day one. And he's the current state's attorney general for the state. So that means that he has a command of the law. And now he's just got up into the office. Man, oh man. If this is how he's starting off his term as the new governor of the state of Louisiana, oh my God. I'm with you don't like my music. First, you don't like my music. You said this is criminal. Absolutely. This is absolutely criminal. And then to add to that, you don't like my music, you added something that I think is interesting. You said bribe the bureaucrats if you want public services. Jesus Christ, America. You can't even look. Clean water is not a right. It's not a privilege. It's a human right.
Exactly.
So you mean to tell me we can't fix the water until somebody makes a choice about about their bodies?
He's willing to damage the entire system to like.
So you want to put all these people, the health and welfare of all these people at risk because you don't agree with abortion and how a woman chooses to use her body.
This is a dangerous zero-sum game. Nobody wins. If he destroys the water system as it is in New Orleans, what are you going to do? And now who are you going to fight for or against abortion too if your people don't have fresh drinking water? That's crazy.
And guess what? People are saying lawsuits are coming. I know some folks in the chat saying lawsuits are coming. He's the attorney general. So he knows how to work the legal system.
About to
Y'all
be governor,
understand what
and the new
about to
attorney
be
general,
governor?
yeah, is coming in with the same attitude though. So don't worry.
Same attitude, same connection, same relationship. Look, we got to take a quick pause. When we come back, more conversation. Join us in the chat. We're streaming live on Roland Martin's YouTube page. And of course, we would love to hear what you have to say as we talk about this issue. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture. Weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm chatting it up with my sister Suzette Speaks, talking about this situation. And I feel like this situation is just going to go get bigger and bigger as we're talking about a current attorney general, new governor-elect Jeff Landry is playing some form of political blackmail where he is talking about withholding funds to fix the city of New Orleans water infrastructure and to clean the water until women who are seeking abortions are prosecuted. This is happening in America. This is happening like in modern day America, and this is crazy. ABX girl, you checked in and you said, so for sisters in New Orleans, they will die from life-ending pregnancies or poor water.
Basically.
But are we still spending our dollars at Essence Fest July 2024? Bingo.
Ooh, shots fired.
Bingo. Bingo.
Oh my.
We at Black Star Network, y'all know Brother Roland's out in the Essence Fest almost every year. Should we not be at Essence Fest at this point?
Well, if we, it's a
Essence
great
Fest.
point.
Y'all should get out of New Orleans with that.
It's a great point because people are always
Excellent.
talking about boycotting Florida because of our governor and his policies towards we Floridians here when it comes to education, LGBT rights, African American history, all those other things. So we say we're not going to spend our dollars. So now that there is a Republican that is taken over or will be sworn in January, who has made his personal opinions known and that he's going to urge his legislature to stop funding what is an essential a protective measure for his people in New Orleans, I think it begs a question, and I think that's a very astute observation. We're spending money there every year, and Essence is not the only national brand that goes to New Orleans and produces large-scale events, but we need to really consider that. Because if this is what the governor is going to be doing, looking to prosecute women who are seeking abortions or stopping what is, again, a very essential, rather, again, playing kind of like a dangerous card. This is not something that can go back and be repaired afterward. They are literally fighting an uphill battle, being that, again, the city is under basically it's like a fishbowl. When you look at it, I was going to say underwater, under sea level is what I was going for. But looking at what they're already dealing with, even when I went there last year, our boat captain, we went out on Lake Pontchartrain. He was like, yeah, salt water is taking up, and I forget the square footage of land every day that he stated, but it's like, no, the sea coming back for us. The sea is coming in. And again, the Mississippi, because of climate change, many would assume is not able to kind of keep up with or produce the amount of water it normally has in years past. And again, this year is the first time it's been as sustained. We've seen it come close again back in the 80s, late 80s. But the fact that you are willing to risk your entire population of New Orleans for a personal stance on what you think should be happening. And again, not looking out for the interests of your people. Again, I don't know if he thinks this is who elected him as a Republican and what he thinks he's doing is on behalf of those voters. But I think if you took a poll there across Louisiana, many would take issue with risking their lives and the fresh water of the citizens of New Orleans and beyond in order to make this stance. This is quite dangerous. And I hope we'll see these lawsuits rather soon. Of course, he has to take office, and it's kind of a premature thing. He's talking about what he will do, but once he gets in there and he starts making these moves, we need to make sure other officials are holding him accountable.
Oh, absolutely. My team shared with us, Suzette, that the general election is on Saturday, November the 18th. You just made that point that this Jeff Landry is the Republican nominee for the general election that's coming up on this Saturday. And I hope Black folks come out in big numbers to make sure that this guy doesn't get into the governor's seat all the way. Now the conversation is about boycotting Essence Fest. I mean, I think we should, if this guy wins, there has to be some serious discussions about taking some of those big brands you talked about, take them out of the state of New Orleans, out of the state of Louisiana, just because this is, I remember years ago, when certain policies come down the pipe, we were just still trying to just keep on chugging along, hoping and wishing upon a star that, look, if things are going to work out, things are going to work out. And I think the big challenge facing Black America is that we can talk tough, but sometimes we get caught up in our own way and we don't stay consistent. We don't always follow through on that talk. And so I think we're at a pivotal time in this country that if we're seeing states after states showing that they have a disregard for women, for Black people, for any interest that we may have, that we start to hold them accountable, that we start doing some different things, so that we start being drastic and say, oh, okay, that's how you like to play? Boom. No money for us. No, we taking our money elsewhere. We taking our tourism elsewhere. We taking our businesses elsewhere. This is within the parameters of what informed constituents would do. Nobody would sit there and with under these circumstances and say, all right, well, let's still support this state. And I know some people might say, well, what about the black folks in the state? The power starts with the people that's closest to the problem. That's where the power starts. If people in New Orleans and Louisiana don't think this is a problem, then we outside of New Orleans and Louisiana, we have a problem because they got to see the problem. Same way y'all are seeing a problem in Florida, Suzette. Black folks are like, man, we ain't handling this. We're not taking this no more. Same way it's got to be in Louisiana. You got to start with the people that's closest to the problem. But hopefully our people will come out in big numbers to make sure Jeff Landry doesn't go all the way through, because this is absolutely insane. And I'm going back to what ABX Girl said. You got women who are in very, very complicated circumstances who get pregnant, and they got to make these hard decisions. And the last thing you need is a state that's going to penalize you, that's going to make you feel like you have to take a choice between dying because of dirty water or dying because you're under the knife. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And hopefully I'm not simplifying the issue, because it's a lot of complexities and a lot of personal choice involved in this. But on a political side, this is crazy. My question, I know we got to take another quick pause. The DOJ, the Department of Justice, or the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, can they step in on a situation like this if Landry gets through?
Well, the main federal entity that has been working alongside the government there is the Army Corps of Engineers. And they come as kind of like, again, supervisory when it comes to federal dollars, federal programs, and making suggestions as to how to combat this saltwater intrusion. I do think that you could possibly see it depends on who's president actually in 2024. After who's elected, you could see, depending on that administration and the tone and their values, you could see a potential lawsuit or coming something legal coming about from the administration. But again, it depends on who will hold the White House at that time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is something that we're going to look at. And I, by God willing, by next week, Suzette, when by the time you come back on here, we're going to have those results from that election. And we're going to have to see what the people of Louisiana will say about this.
They're going by the previous turnout because, again, Black folks were not energized to get out and vote. That's why there's this presumption that this is going to be the person who will be governor. But we still have another bite at the apple. So I'm glad that Essence took the time to write this article. Again, the Great Awakening, what we're doing here on the Black Star Network is to let people know this is your government for the people, by the people. And whether or not you feel like all your needs are being met, there's still going to be decisions that are being made by whoever wins. So we got to get folks out, and hopefully the folks there on the ground are doing their part to help turn out the vote when it comes to this election.
Absolutely. Tiana, you said Louisiana needs to go to vote for real. Absolutely. And you don't like my music. You said the question isn't whether this man was right or wrong, even though we know he's wrong. The question is, it's what should we do about it?
Exactly.
And that's always the big question. You don't like my music. Great point. All right, folks, we got to take another quick pause. When we come forward, let's talk about this, what one writer calls the booty paradox, of how women are exploited because of their physical characteristics. This is coming from this latest campaign where Cardi B is doing some work for Kim Kardashian's Skims collection, and how it has reinvigorated the discussion about using women and exploiting the bodies of Black women. We're going to have that conversation up next. Also later on, it's official, folks. Beyonce has her own reporter at the USA Today. We'll talk to you about the implications and impact on the culture with that conversation. So stay with us. A lot more to cover in this next half of the culture right here on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture. Weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in. More importantly, thank you for your support of us here at Black Star Network. Suzette, I want us to clarify something before we move on to our next conversation. This man, Jeff Landry, is actually the governor-elect. He's not like the Republican nominee. The election that is set up for this Saturday, this runoff, are for other positions. So he's actually going to be sworn in on January of 2024.
Yeah.
So he is going to be the new governor of the state of Louisiana.
Yeah, no, when I saw it in our chat, in our back chat, I was wondering, but yes, that is correct.
Yeah.
I was like, am I off? Yes. But he's already been elected. Other people are in a runoff. He's already been elected and he'll be sworn in. That's what I thought.
Because he was able to garner over 50% of the vote back in the mid-October primary. So essentially, because that's the state's law, there were so many folks that were running, but he got majority of those votes. And as a result, so as a result of that, he's actually the governor. So I wanted to just clarify that for all of our watchers and our culture crew members, that he is the new governor, folks. Jeff Landry, who is the current attorney general for the state of Louisiana, is going to be sworn in as the new governor for the state of Louisiana in January 2024. Therefore, this, I guess, policy or this sentiment is going to be, he's going to move forward on it. What's your take on that?
Yes, and I do want to also make, and we can put it up, Lise, thank you, that make the distinction that the attorney general will be a runoff. So
right. Somebody's got to replace him.
The attorney general will be between Liz Baker Murrell, a Republican who currently works at the attorney general's office under Mr. Landry, and Lindsay Cheek, a Democrat and trial attorney. They have advanced to the runoff that will be held on November 18th. So there is maybe another bite at the apple, so to speak, where the attorney general's office, which is partially responsible for what happens with the decisions made with what is happening with the New Orleans water system, may see a Democrat there. or someone who is in opposition of this policy position, but the governor itself was already elected.
The governor was already elected, absolutely. And so those other roles, attorney general, treasurer, those other important state offices, they're in this upcoming election for Saturday, November the 18th. So black folks should still come out and vote, because you need some folks in there that's going to check, because this is going to be a big issue, major intersection of reproductive rights, environmental justice. So there's going to be a pull on different, I would say, different agencies within that state, to kind of create some actual policy about this. If he can get this idea across to the state's legislators, so there's still some opportunity to push back on this. This is not like set in stone here.
Absolutely.
He's just kind of talking, but in sharing his thoughts. But there's still some ways to check this.
Correct. They'll definitely show up November 18th in this runoff election, because the checks and balances are slimmer than what it would have been had he not won. But he definitely surprised everyone when he got more than 50% of the vote in the previous election. So here we are yet again, and we're looking to our voters to speak up for themselves and get out there. And hopefully maybe in the attorney general race or the other races, we could have a different outcome.
Absolutely. And it speaks volumes about what you just said in terms of what happened in the last major election, where there was low black voter turnout. And now, now we see what happens. It's like,
so those 22% that's talking about they're going to vote for Trump. Let's be realistic as to what may happen and what policy he would likely implement and how it would affect your life. So don't believe the hype.
Wow. All right. Let's switch gears a little bit. I want to talk about something that's more cultural here, Suzette, than anything. This is a story that was posted by The Griot, and it was written by a sister named Melissa Brown, and she's talking about the exploitation of Black women through the booty paradox. That's what she framed it as, the booty paradox. She said, even as the fashion industry promotes body-hugging clothes that highlight women's curvy derrieres, Black women and girls still face the policing of their bodies. And this is, she started her piece around the idea, around the situation where Cardi B has been tapped to be the face of the new campaign for Skims, which is Kim Kardashian's fashion label. And Skims, of course, produces lingerie and undergarment for women, and it's more body shaping. And I heard women, and I've seen stuff online, and I've talked to sisters that use Skims, and they're like, oh no, this is actually, it fits my body, it feels great, all of those things. But this writer, Melissa Brown, is saying that there might be a problem with this, because as much as Cardi and other women like Meg Thee Stallion and other women have promoted their bodies, that it once again puts a spotlight on exploitation of the Black woman's body. And I know we got to take another quick pause, but I want us to talk a little bit about this, because I want to get your take on this and other sisters in the chat about this booty paradox. And does it really bode well for Black women to accentuate that part of their bodies? We're going to have that conversation up next. So stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, We're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause to long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. Got my sister Suzette Speaks. We're talking about how one writer for the Griot, how she has used the term the booty paradox as we look at the ongoing cultural conversation about women's body and who has the right or the agency to a woman's body. Because apparently, Suzette, is not always the woman herself. It looks like it's the culture. It looks like it's the streets, as some people say, right? It looks like it's somebody else's policing women's body. And this is coming out of the fact that Cardi B signed on to become a spokesperson for Kim Kardashian's brand Skims. But now that we're in this new place, and I think we can say new place, but we're in this place now where women are becoming much more intentional about how they present themselves for themselves and to other people. And it has reinvigorated the conversation about the exploitation of women's bodies. So Melissa Brown, the writer for The Griot, pointed this out. And she said this. Take a look at this, folks. I want to share with you a little bit of what she said in her piece, then get Suzette and your take on this. She said, while Cardi B frequently celebrates the size of her buttocks in her music, along with other curvaceous Black female rappers like Megan Thee Stallion, this renown does not necessarily extend to the broader population. Shapely Black women like Teacher Day are seen as inappropriate and unprofessional in the workplace when they wear form-fitting clothes, which can lead to punishment or firing. Black girls also experience this regulation of their bodies as school dress code violations disproportionately target girls of color. Suzette, your face says everything.
Because I guess this conversation is not new. I'm like, okay, every now and then we revisit it, as Melissa Brown, C. Brown in The Griot has kind of brought this up. And I think I am tired when it comes to Kim Kardashian and what her brand or how her branding has evolved from what many would consider appropriation of Black culture in some ways. There are Black women now that ride for Kim Kardashian now. This is a thing that I find is kind of very paradoxical, because she has gained this popularity through I think her association with Black men, Black culture, and of course her body type, which is what Melissa C. Brown is writing about here. Now, whether you are a Kim Kardashian fan or not, again, I don't own Skims. I'm, again, very conscious about what brands I buy into. The conversation that Melissa has started in her article to talk about, why Cardi B, why now? And is it okay that we see a brand like Skims, again, who is owned or partially owned? I was just reading earlier today about who actually really owns Skims, and it's actually a power couple behind it. And I wanted to bring up that article, if we can, please, Lisa. Kind of highlight what we're talking about, this booty paradox, not my words. And I guess I wanted to find it by how our article writer has stated it here. But if you would bring it up where in the article, she's talking about what she's referred to as the booty paradox, where she says, as an expert in Black women and popular media, I call this exploitation a booty paradox. While Cardi B's feature in Skims campaign is significant, it highlights the fact that inclusion tends to disproportionately favor women with light skin or mixed race heritage, perpetuating, in her words, colorism and texturism. Sociologist Margaret Hunter found that lighter Black women earn more, creating severe economic disparities between light and dark-skinned Black women. The skin bleaching, cosmetic surgery, and fashion industries profit from these, quote, skin color hierarchies, which may explain why Skims' leading lady of color, and this is an interesting name, Emma, she pronounces it Greedy, is of mixed race Caribbean heritage. So when I was looking up Emma Greedy, and I was looking like who is exploiting who and who's utilizing whose body and whose frame for what reasons. Now we know, again, throughout history, Black women are the originators of the global beauty standard when it comes to imitating and trying to replicate our body types, what is traditionally associated with our body types. Now, again, we have very slim on the slim side women. We have, again, a plethora of different body types that are considered Black, but the archetypal body type that she's discussing here is this one where you have a voluptuous chest, and again, a very, very rotund derriere, as we have seen kind of exploited over and over again. From, you can carry it back to the 1800s when women were wearing those bouffants under their nice Victorian dresses. Who were they imitating then? And the overextension of hips, etc., to what we see now, which is, again, some would argue what has had the most impact on the Kim Kardashian brand. Some very, very passionate folks are pro Kim and love her and think that, again, she is the standard. Others have said that she is pretty much cosplaying what many would imagine to be a prototype of a light-skinned Black woman, from her lip size to her in what some allege is a cosmetic surgery derived body. I don't know that she's admitted that, but that's what's been alleged, that whatever she does is to make herself look more like, again, a Black woman, and that from that she gains some kind of benefit in terms of her coolness, in terms of her marketability. But as Melissa points out, when the originators of that coolness, of that sexiness, of that fashion and what could I call it? Just this beauty, actually who have this, right? But are in different tones, different white women try to emulate it or appropriate it, there is a benefit to them. So I think she makes an interesting argument in this article.
Do you, and I know we got to take another quick pause, but do you think that she's on point? Because I feel, and here's what I'm saying, the on point about this. It seems like this is a double-edged sword, right? There is, women are told culturally, musically, right, in the film and music world, your body shape means everything, right? Like what a woman looks like. I'm speaking of for Black women. So women are often told culturally, hey, embrace your body. Not only embrace it, accentuate your bust, accentuate your backside, accentuate these things, because this is the beauty of you. And so there's this ongoing conversation about body positivity that happens, right? That we are all like a part of. But then the ironic part is, if you wear form-fitting clothes and you do have certain features, shapely features, then guess what's happening? Like Melissa said, you're going to be ostracized. You're going to be punished because you're deemed, quote unquote, too sexy. So it's like two competing messages that y'all as women are getting confronted with. And then let's not even talk about the fact that as men, we don't even, we just, you know what I'm saying? We just see a beautiful woman. What I mean? We can't control. And I'm saying we choose not to control ourselves. I'm not going to say we can't because we're not dogs. We choose not to control ourselves. We act as if we've never seen a woman's body. We act, and I'm talking about grown ass men. We be like, oh my God. No, no. But there's a cultural problem. And it's interesting because, like you said, Suzette, this conversation comes up. But as much as it comes up, it seems like it goes deeper and further away. Like now, what we're seeing from Cardi B, from Meg Thee Stallion, I mean, damn near you're not wearing too much clothes. And I don't know if that's body policing or if that's just simply saying, hey, have some decency. Like I know there's a very thin line that's there.
I think it would depend on who you ask. I think there is a generational shift. I think there are people that will look at what Megan Thee Stallion puts out there in terms of her music and her look and ask again, who is in control of this image? Is it her or is it the powers that be when it comes to record companies, et cetera? We know that sex sells, and we know that hypersexuality of Black women is nothing new in the American context from enslaved Africans first, landed here till now, that very poisonous stereotype that has been foisted upon us and our bodies, that we are hypersexual, that we are somehow, Jezebels, and that we are lacking the self-control of what is a respectable woman. I think that does play. And again, we have to have a serious conversation as a community, although again, this to me is foisted upon us to ingest 24/7 in the Instagram model culture and the top females in the rap game now that are singing with, like I said, scantily clad costumes all the time. You got to be in a leotard, unitard, something like this all the time, short shorts, booty cheeks hanging out all the time in order to be marketable, versus again, what the status quo or the powers that be push in terms of conscious music. Lauryn Hill couldn't get a second album. You get what I'm saying? So we have this idea that it's us, when again, first and foremost, I'd like to point out again, who controls the imaging of a Cardi B, of a Nicki Minaj, of a Meg Thee Stallion, of a Suki Hana, and all the rest of these ladies, and pushing their music in front of our daughters for them to be the so-called role models of a whole generation of young women who don't see any balance in the media. So put that on the shelf. That aside, we also have to ask ourselves, is this something that is an either or both and a why or why not conversation? When we talk about body positivity, again, you'll find a bunch of women, and I see we're over time, Maddie, sorry, that are on this boat, again, because of the conditioning of the last 10 or 20 years of what body positivity means to them. But I do think there is a groundswell, and I think in society we always see the pendulum swing back and forth when it comes to what women want their representation to be. There are a lot of people that are not down with, and I'm talking about Black women, this exploitation in music, in pop culture, through social media of our bodies to be said to be basically the standard, as we were talking about, to have our daughters think this is what they should look like. Many of us want to have more than that as the representation that we have in pop culture. But again, how much of that do we control? And again, looking at Cardi B, she posts this with the Skims on, and there are 10 million views. I just looked at her Instagram, 10 point some million of that one little less than 30-second ad she did. So we know that the persona of, this I'm in control, sexually liberated woman sells. We know that. But again, the balance that we need, I believe, in the Black community is not necessarily within our control. And we have to be careful how much of this we're consuming, so that we don't end up with a generation that doesn't understand that there's more than one way to be a Black woman, a sexy Black woman, an attractive Black woman.
There it is. Let me take a quick pause. When we come back, more conversation with Suzette Speaks. And of course, I'm going to get some comments from you, crew. So stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. Checking in with my sister Suzette Speaks as we're talking about the exploitation of Black women's bodies through the quote-unquote booty paradox, how Black women are often seen for as valuable, worthy, based upon their backsides, rather than who they are, what's on the inside of them. And so we're having this conversation because the writer, Melissa C. Brown, she wrote this piece for the Griot around this idea of what she termed the booty paradox. As we look at fashion, as we look at the prominent messaging that continues to proliferate throughout our culture, that, you know what, Black women, you are beautiful with your beautiful backside, but you can't work anyplace. You can't go into professional spaces. Like, Suzette, you are a licensed attorney. You go into professional spaces. And the crazy part is, and I'm sure this crosses your mind, like if for every space you go into, you're like, okay, let me figure out what I'm going to wear, how I'm going to present myself, right? Because women who have any type of curves, any type of features, y'all got to constantly think about all of those things. Like versus men, we don't have to think about that stuff. That's part of being a woman, right? That is like wholly being a woman. As a man, I don't have to think of other than, okay, am I going to dress down or am I going to dress up? Versus women, y'all got to be like, oh, even if I dress down, I got to still think about, okay, do I need to wear it because I can't wear the tight. And it's a lot. Now, here's what Melissa C. Brown said in her piece. Let me go to quote number 2, Lise. Let's show that, please. She said, at the root of this policing is the stigmatization of curvaceous Black women as hypersexual and out of place in professional environments. This uneven enforcement of dress code suggests that the desirability associated with more prominent backsides does not often extend to women of African descent. Indeed, throughout much of history, the bottoms of Black women were viewed as grotesque and monstrous. For example, during the colonial era, Europeans put African women like Sarah Bartman on display as a spectacle in freak show exhibitions. Ironically, to promote their products, fast fashion retailers who primarily rely on online sales, they employ popular Instagram influencers that mimic the beauty practices of curvaceous Black women. Again, that's the conflicting message. You're not acceptable. You're not professional because of your body form and your body shape. But you're acceptable to be used, and then we can exploit you to use to sell our products. But we can't take, other than for you to be seen, you can't be heard. You can't be sitting at the table and all of those things. I remember watching the videos of anytime you have like a newscaster, weather woman, like, women that are seen on television. And in some of these markets, some of these sisters, they are shapely bodies and they put on certain outfits and it creates a firestorm. They got sexy weather woman and the sexy news anchor and all of these things, right?
Teacher
And
and Home Depot lady.
teachers and Home Depot lady and all of these things, right? And I look at some of these comments and I'm like, and I get it, like, okay, beauty is beauty, but it gets to be so disgusting after a while. Like, damn, like just some of the
Oh, you're
comments. And guess
tired.
what?
You're
And,
tired.
and
You're tired. Go ahead.
but this even and here's the funny part: the comments from the women. Damn, I wish I had a body like that.
Well,
Damn,
you're
I do
both.
her.
You're both. There's some that are like pro that, and some that say, you need to figure out what fashion would help you to look more acceptable. What I think would kind of I'd add to the point you just made is that it's not only that there is a double standard for the woman in terms of colorism, what light her skin women look like and can get away with, if you will, when we talk about professional settings, etc., and then what darker skin, a complexioned woman can present and have a very different reaction in terms of their success when it comes to the corporate environment is a real disparity. It has been documented, it has been researched, it's real. I would also add that unfortunately, those who tend to appropriate our looks and features can see a benefit, in fact, from their popularity, their ability to move through different spaces, to be cool and be revered. And again, the people who originated those looks, right? Those features tend to be more frequently seen in that group of the African diaspora. We don't see those same benefits. It's a real conversation. It's a real issue. And the disparity does not always play in our favor as Black women. As you stated, we have an added burden, especially in corporate environments, for how we present ourselves and how we are seen. Again, I didn't sexualize myself. You sexualized me. I'm not hypersexual. It's your view of me and what my body means and the threat it poses, and that comes from men and women, and how you want to categorize me and assume that I am based on how God made my body. It is a very heavy burden to shoulder. But I know when I buy suits or put on a pencil skirt or whatever, I am constantly looking at, okay, do my hips show too much? Does my backside show too much? What can I do? Can I put on a longer jacket? Can I put on an A-line dress? Whatever. Those are conversations that are real. And, within ourselves and among ourselves, when it comes to the lack of acceptance of our, what is that, stereotypically associated with Black women shape. Again, shout out to little booty, shout out to small folks. There are all kinds of Black women. But because we talking about but we know for the most part, what is associated most commonly with Black women is oftentimes given a negative connotation unless it's selling sex, right? Or being used to sell sex. So I think the conversation is a very deep one that Mrs. Brown has kind of outlined in this article. She also talks about the amount of money people have been spending to look like Black women when it comes to the amount of BBLs. I know in the article she mentions, I think in the year 2020, over $100-some million was spent on butt augmentation, 40,000 procedures in the United States. That's not counting the people that go overseas to Mexico, Dominican Republic, and Venezuela, Colombia, all those places to get that procedure done. So again, there is a coolness, there's a desirability, there's a wannabeism when it relates to what we normally genetically have. But again, when we ourselves present ourselves with these same features, what is the response that we get? And are we in fact penalized by it? Oftentimes, the answer to that is yes.
Let me just say this. The ABX girl said, how many of us knew that Cardi B took advanced placement classes in high school, but earns more money doing this instead? I didn't know that. But here's the thing. This speaks volumes because women, Black women, all types of women with different body types can go into these industries because there is that wealth gap between women and men. women are now have to be forced to say, okay, if I use my body, I can actually earn more. We talked about the teacher who was a teacher, 3 degrees, Suzette. She has a bachelor's, a master's, and then she becomes a specialist. But then she goes on OnlyFans and makes nearly $1 million. And she's like, I'm stepping away from teaching because I'm on OnlyFans. And I hear, you see what I'm saying? And it's like, that's what happens, that women, and I'm not saying I know what's going on in the mind of women, but I'm just saying based upon the stories that I read in some of these conversations, women are saying, I can make more money with my body, be accepted, might be hated, but guess what? I'm getting the bag. I'm getting the bag versus working my way up through a system that's patriarchal, working my way up through a system that don't see me for who I really am. So why not just do something very natural? Wake up, show my body, get money for it versus applying myself and still feeling like I'm getting the short end of the stick.
Well, let's just be clear that the majority of Black women are doing the latter, which is getting up every day and going to a job. Okay, that's the majority of our realities in the United States. What we are oftentimes fed as, again, these role model-esque stories about this is what you should do, guys. Don't go to a job because this one person has made $1 million doing what she's doing. Or you can be like Cardi B and Meg. Majority of OnlyFans creators don't make that much money, Farajii. That's what they don't tell you. After they put your whole body, expose your whole body on these things. I wish I had the numbers because I didn't know that the conversation was going to go in this direction. Majority don't make that much money. So this idea that there is, an ease when it comes to Black women's bodies and sex work, it doesn't always apply equally across the board. And oftentimes many do regret putting themselves out there because the grass is not always greener. But again, if these are the role models that are being promoted via the music industry, that are being promoted via brands like Skims and being promoted, constantly, Cardi B, Nicki Minaj, all of them have stayed very relevant, as they should, but there is no balance. There is not the everyday woman. What I'm very interested in is this Afro-Caribbean lady, Emma, I think she pronounces her last name Greedy, and her husband Jens, who's from Switzerland, who are behind Skims brand. Jens Greedy is the majority owner of Skims, not Kim Kardashian. I was looking it up and I'm like, oh, wow, they are a marketing powerhouse. And all they do as a power couple from their early days of owning an ad agency in London is pair up brands with celebrities. They moved from London, started out in, I think, LA in 2019.
Wow.
It's their brainchild to put the softer looking Cardi B, as Miss Emma Greedy has said in interviews, to the Skims brand because they know Black women got that sauce. Black women are going to sell, especially scantily clad Black women. And when you look at the ads of Skims, go on Instagram, I've looked at them. I'm like, Lord, what is this saying? Am I enjoying this? Am I proud of this? Is this exploitive? I am conflicted. Because again, the body positivity of one woman is kind of the offensive exploitation of another. We are not looking at it the same way all the time. Because again, what they're pushing on you in the media is not necessarily what the everyday woman who is sitting at her house in the various, places across this country is saying to herself, yeah. But to the impressionable next generation, they're looking at it as like, whoa, Kim Kardashian made a bra with protruding nipples. Now, again, for people who have had, mastectomies and other types of surgeries and everything like that, that might actually be very useful. But again, what is it saying? What is the clothes? Oh, it's innovative. How amazing. What is it really saying? Right? We are not the gatekeepers of who has been afforded the opportunity to use our bodies, to use our beauties, to sell their products. And again, she has a special pass. I don't know what, because her kids are half Black, I guess. And again, they're very popular. But her body type and what she has created from that, and again, her association with Blackness and many would argue appropriation of Blackness. Remember when she did braids in her head and they was calling it boxer braids instead of cornrows? Right. And what we were looking like, y'all want to make her reinvent Blackness? Like, what are we talking about here? And again, where are we supporting it? Are we using our money to support brands that are promoting what we want to see Black women and Black women's bodies used for? or is she a sister in your mind? I don't know. I don't own one pair of Skims. But again, we have to ask the question of what and who is this benefiting? To see Black women's bodies used in this way, got to be very, very careful and be intentional about who we give our support.
Let me just tell you, it's given exploitation. It's given exploitation. I know we got to take another quick pause. It's given exploitation. Because why? Here's why. You're not controlling how that presentation, just because you're in a part of a campaign, and this is where we are in this country, right? Like what we're seeing from celebrities or influencers, you're essentially a salesperson. You are a pitch person, right? So they use your face, they use your image, they use your body to sell. But it's given exploitation because you're calling people, hey, look, come on over here, spend your money with us. Look, if you spend your money with us, you can look like me, right? But at the behind the scenes, like you're just pointing out, Suzette, behind the scenes, you got individuals who are just using it. This is capitalism, like at its finest, because you're using people, the natural resources, for unnatural means to get something, right? So you're using a whole human being to enrich yourself without thinking about
a woman
the
with a
impact.
certain aesthetic, right?
And with
She's
a certain
not drawn
aesthetic,
for
light skin
super
or
skinny.
long hair, right?
Exactly.
And guess what? You saying, well, we're doing it for the culture. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. I'm gonna call it. That's bullshit. Because why? We're not the ones determining the culture. If a couple hires Kim Kardashian, because that's essentially what they did. They hired Kim Kardashian to be the face of a brand, and for her to have that cultural influence the way she does, and then she hires other people. It's like a Ponzi scheme of capitalism.
Absolutely. They helped Chloe start Good American. They helped Kylie start her, I think it's called Kai. They helped Kris Jenner start Safely, the whole holistic all natural products.
And guess
so
what?
It's not about. Go ahead, Farajii.
No, I'm so sorry. Look, it's about like you. And guess what? For those of us on the outside, we're like, man, they really doing it. They really doing it. They didn't start the company. They didn't determine the narrative of how this campaign was going. They're salespeople, man. And I think that if we push back culturally on some of this stuff that we're seeing coming from celebrities or anybody, right? And we push back and say, wait a minute, hold up. This is not good. Because when these conversations come up, do you see a change in their products? Do you see a change in their fashions? No.
Their marketing.
They go harder.
Exactly. I mean, there are people, I can hear them screaming at the screen. Y'all are haters. Kim is an excellent business. I can hear them screaming. And again, to play devil's advocate, that, you know, she has put in the work and she has made herself a billionaire bull. She had these very smart people, aligning with her in this pursuit. But again, just to focus in on the marketing of it, there are folks that she could get, Paris Hilton to sell this, but she's not, right? Because there's a certain coolness, superness,
come on,
sensuality that goes with that aesthetic that again is being sold back to us as, don't you want to again look like Miss Kardashian? Don't you want to look like Cardi B? And again, there are, and I'm looking at the ad and the campaign, there are very, very dark skinned women featured in that campaign as well. Various shapes, if you will, a little bit larger, full figured women as well. But again, there's no getting away from the fact that there is a brownness, blackness that is ever present, that again, I don't know that she has appropriated, but there are many that would argue that
absolutely
she's not of that culture. She has learned to exploit that culture. And again, that can be argued, but we got to be very careful again of our support of what she's presenting to us or presenting back to us, and what it means and the impact that it will have on the culture at large.
And here's one of the litmus tests. Would you encourage this, or would you impose this on your daughter?
Oh.
Your granddaughter, your niece? would you advise them to take this direction to be seen as a little girl?
Or to put on a bra with nipples. We got to take a break, Farajii. We got
All right, take a
to
break.
take a break.
When we come forward, let's shift gears. Let's talk about Beyonce. Stay with us. It's the culture here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to the culture here on the Black Star Network. Let me bring my sister back in. Man, oh man, what a day has been. For our final conversations, it is official, folks. Beyonce has a dedicated correspondent to cover all things Beyonce. I know you're part of the Beehive. I know, I get it. Was that a hand clap?
I'm excited.
Y'all know that with just that little demonstration, y'all know that the women in my production team are Beehive members. Okay, they actually have their own beat reporter. USA Today has hired journalist Cache McClay to cover all things Beyonce. The USA Today Network and the Tennessean said on Monday that McClay, who previously worked at TMZ and BBC News, among other outlets, was chosen for the singer-focused gig from among hundreds of applicants, Suzette. The job, according to the media company, requires close coverage of Beyonce Knowles Carter's complex business and entertainment empire, including the upcoming film documenting her $580 million grossing Renaissance World Tour and a new perfume line, among other products. Now, Cache McClay is a Howard University grad. She describes herself as growing up in a Beyonce household. She said, more than playing music, Beyonce's impact has shown us the possibilities are endless. Here's my question. Lord, I'm holding on to my table so I don't get attacked by the Beehive.
No, Lord.
As a journalist, that you uphold to journalistic standards of truth telling, will you, if necessary, be critical of Beyonce? Because we can read about the goodness of Beyonce from a lot of other outlets. But as the new Beyonce correspondent for a major newspaper, news outlet like USA Today, will your reporting be critical of our sister, if necessary? What's your take on that? I know, Beehive, please don't attack my Twitter and my Instagram.
Don't come for him, y'all. But the most important thing, first of all, is to say congratulations to the young lady, Mr. Gray, coming out, HBCU graduate coming out, the pack, the top person to get this position. There are many who wanted it, and again, to say that she has that entertainment reporting background. She's been a producer. She is a great fit for what it is that this type of beat requires. So talking about whether or not she will cover her fairly, I guess is the question. First and foremost, in contrast to our last conversation, I just love to see that a Black woman who has a magnificent talent and has put in so much into our culture has been recognized as being such a cultural phenomenon, that she would require her own reporter. I think that alone it speaks volumes as to what she has produced again for our culture by a Black woman. So it's very interesting to see that type of mainstream recognition. And
Right.
so whether or not we'll see any negativity, I think I would venture to say, and this is an educated guess, yes. Because there's so much.
Oh, you say yes. You say yes.
Yes, that she would. Because again, we don't.
Okay.
Beyonce has an amazing PR team. Whatever she writes in her non-disclosure agreements, it has been, very, very effective. You don't really hear stuff. Now you might see her. I was Googling Beyonce before we came on, and it was like, Beyonce needs help getting down the plane. I'm like, oh, did she have knee surgery or whatever's going on, those type of things. But the fact is that literally hundreds of millions of people care, right? When you're grossing more than $500 million and shifting the U.S. economy in terms of what your art has done in just the last year, it's incredible. We can't ignore this. But I do think there are folks that, even though this reporter admits to growing up and being in a Beyonce household, that are also going to look at her and see if there is, less than favorable, interesting, facts or issues that come up. Beyonce is not perfect. Beyonce is a human being. So just like anybody else who covers an entertainment beat, I think she would venture to both credit when she needs it or deserves it, and then of course look at all the other angles.
All right, so you say yes, she's going to still adhere to those journalists' truth-telling standards. Here's my second question: do you think Beyonce will actually bring her closer in because she specifically is covering her life, her story? Do you think Beyonce and her camp is going to say, "Hey, look, let's bring Cache in a little bit and have some very important conversations"? Because I think a lot of people would like to hear more from Beyonce, not just from her statement, but you know what I'm saying? I think a lot of people would like Jay-Z, obviously, he gets on podcast. I mean, he talks to a lot of people, right? But we don't
Beyonce
hear too much.
I don't think she will. I don't think she will. I know we have about 30 seconds, but no, I don't think she will. Beyonce has not done a one-on-one sit-down interview since I can't even remember. Y'all, Beehive, please correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was like a one-on-one with Oprah. But she has stayed clear from doing them, and she has still grown into one of the most influential entertainers of all time. I think she knows that there is spin that's involved when you do one-on-one interviews, even though people like to say they're objective, know how you edit, how you cut. She's giving you on her terms and for the bag, her version of her life, as we will see this December in movie theaters. But I don't think she has to, and nor has that been her pattern to kind of give up more insights unless she's putting it out on HBO or other platforms for us to get a glimpse behind the curtain. But no, I don't think she's going to do any one-on-ones. But I could be wrong. But based on her pattern, no, I don't think so.
Brother Damon said she did Ellen a few years ago.
Yes, she did.
So that is true.
But since then, they don't do one-on-ones. That's not her style.
I just wonder, and I wonder if USA Today reached out to Beyonce and her campaigns like, "Hey, we got a dedicated correspondent to cover your life. Hey."
She might be able to go to a show or something, but I don't know. I don't know. She's a businesswoman first. She gonna get that bag, and if she can kind of sell you her story and put it in her own words, she'll do it. I don't know about that. This woman is gonna have to work very hard to get some insider information because, like I said, she got that camp on lock. I don't know what's in them NDAs, but you don't hear nothing really coming out like that unless she wants it to come out. She might be covering like the perfume or whatnot, but I don't know if she's gonna be able to cover anything else. Oh, her last interview was with Ellen. I'm sorry, I said Oprah. It was with Ellen. But look how long it was. She doesn't play about those. She puts out her stuff on her terms.
Exactly. I hope Cache has a lawyer of her own because she's gonna need one.
In the words of Jada Pinkett Smith, I'm suing. We suing. All right, too soon. Yeah, she has to be accurate. I would agree with that. She got to be accurate and fact check for sure.
Absolutely. All right, that's what it is. Hey, Suzette, thank you so much as always, sis. You always bring enough insight and thoughts and just a lot of your expertise. Folks, make sure y'all follow my sister Suzette Speaks on all social media platforms. Make sure y'all support her show as it streams on YouTube through Pantheon, and make sure that you continue to support her wherever she is. She's always moving and shaking in the state of Florida and around the country. So Suzette Speaks, thank you for being so good for the culture. And maybe, Suzette, we can get a dedicated correspondent to cover your life.
Oh Lord, no, I'm good. But I might be on Roland tomorrow or Friday. I don't know yet. So check me out on Roland. I'll post it. Come over, please subscribe, and I'll be having a list of events. I'll be hosting a lot of events in December and January here in South Florida. So from the FAMU Alumni Association just reached out to folks who are raising scholarships for Haitian students who have just migrated. I'm in this community, y'all. So shout out to Miami 305 in the building 954-561. Let's do it. I'll see y'all next week.
Peace. Peace.
See you.
All right, folks, that's great. That's going to do it for us. I truly appreciate you. Big shout out to Andrea Pearson. Andrea, thank you for joining the Bring the Funk fan club at a level 1 level. There we go. Thank you. There we go. Andrea, thank you so much. Thank you to my online culture crew for making today's show so fantastic. And of course, my production team. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Folks, make sure you do your due diligence. Go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com. Download the app. Follow us on social media. And more importantly, give something to continue to power us in this movement. We are making waves all across the country and around the world. And guess what? We are just not stopping. Just like the founder, 55 years old, black man with a bold vision, Brother Roland Martin. Happy birthday, big brother Roland. Thank you again for the opportunity. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Make sure y'all stay around for his show, Roland Martin Unfiltered, right here on the Black Star Network at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. I want to thank all of y'all for joining us. And of course, make sure y'all follow me on social media at The Real Farajii on Twitter. And you can certainly find me on social media. But thank y'all so much for tuning in. And as always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong, stand for what's right, while being yourself in the process. God willing, we will talk on tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture right here, only here, exclusively here on the Black Star Network. Talk to you soon. Peace.